So in this video, we're going to talk about something that's a bit taboo, especially for a real estate broker to talk about, but it's things to keep in mind and watch out for when you're hiring an agent to represent you. And I'm going to kind of let the cat out of the box on a few of these things because plain and simple, I just think some of this stuff is a little bit, so you can go ahead and decide for yourself whether or not these are a concern for you or if these are just things you want to be aware of and maybe use to your advantage when you're hiring an agent, all right? So for example, one of the questions I would recommend you ask your agent when you are interviewing them is, are you going to charge me a transaction fee? Because here's the thing, buyer's agents receive their commission. They get paid from the seller, okay? So you as the buyer are not paying for a commission. But many times, nonetheless, agents will throw in a transaction coordinator or transaction fee many times, and I hate to say this, we absolutely don't do this, we do not condone this, but many times, you'd be surprised, they'll even put it on the purchase agreement as if it's a regular closing cost, but because buyers don't know any different, they just go ahead and sign that offer like anything else, but it will say in there many times, buyer to pay for transaction fee or buyer's agent's transaction fee or something to that effect. And guys, if your agent's already getting paid a commission otherwise, unless they're telling you specifically what this specific fee is for, and I'm probably going to be clobbered by real estate agents for this, but plain and simple, they're already getting paid a commission. Most of the time when they put those sort of fees on there, it's just a BS way of getting paid more money, and it's having you pay for it. They're like, hey, it's just more money I can charge. Why not put it on there? Sometimes they'll put a transaction coordinator fee on there. And plain and simple, what that means is that they're getting you to pay for their transaction coordinator, which essentially does all of the stuff you would expect a real estate agent to be doing and maintaining your file. And all they're really doing is making the transaction a lot smoother for everybody, but they're pretty much doing the agent's job for them. And they're getting you to pay for that. It's kind of like the agent saying, oh, I'm charging you an assistant fee because I have an assistant and I have to pay them a monthly salary, and I would like it if you would help me out with that above and beyond the commission I'm already going to be making on this purchase. Makes no sense, right? So again, take that for what it's worth. Another thing you want to be aware of when you're looking at buyer's agents is many times they will reel you in on these promises of pocket listings, okay? So they have these off-market listings that are not being offered to anybody else, but exclusively available to their little circle of clients. So 2 questions. First and foremost, are they doing this with the seller's knowledge? Is the seller saying, oh, I don't want my property to have maximum exposure. I only want it to be provided to a very select few people so that I can not get as much money as I would if I put it on the open market. Okay? Or are they really just saying, oh, these are some properties that I know are coming up and they're going to be on the open market soon enough anyway, but we can just go ahead and be one of the first offers, even though the seller's probably going to want to consider multiple offers. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the first question is actually yes. Sometimes sellers do not want to advertise a property on the open market. But I would submit to you that that is not normally the case. Most sellers want their property to have maximum exposure. So sometimes when I see agents that are kind of doing a bait and switch, or they're sort of saying on the seller's end, oh, we have this large pool of buyers. Many times you're going to be able to, make a deal with a buyer before it even hits the market, and you're going to be able to get full market value. And then they're going over to the buyers and then selling the complete opposite side of the coin and saying, oh, we have these off-market properties. You're going to be able to get in here without any competition and probably get a better deal than you would if it was on the open market. And I just think that's very unethical, So again, I'm not saying all agents do this, but be aware of these tactics because this is a very common thing, more common than I would like to say in real estate nowadays. And it's just something that's sort of misleading. Most of the time, you're not going to go in to a property that's just beautiful and off market and be able to get a better deal than you would if it was listed on the market, unless somebody's not working ethically on the seller's end. And is that the kind of agent you want to work with? Is that the sort of transaction you want to be working with in the first place? Because if that's really the case, then who's to say what else is actually happening and whether or not you're really getting a good deal? Does that make sense? So I think I beat the dead horse on that one. just want to say, keep an eye out for that, because that is something that is commonly played in today's market. And unfortunately, it's more common than you'd want to expect. Another thing we've heard of more often than we like from clients that have come from other agents or other brokerages and have worked with us in the past is that we've heard of pretty much fake credits. So essentially a real estate broker saying, oh, you come in and work with us, and not only do we provide this credit and this credit to our buyer, but we also do this and this and this. And come to find out many times, they're saying things, they're promising things such as, oh, we're going to get this credit to you. And, and it's essentially something that in that market is a completely standardized concession from a seller. It's good marketing to be advertising the characteristics of something that other agents might not already be highlighting, but nonetheless understand that it is somewhat smoke and mirrors to be saying, oh, if you work with us, we are going to do things differently, and we're going to get you this credit, or we're going to get the seller to pay for this. When plain and simple, that is a normal concession. That is just normal in this marketplace. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Again, if somebody's doing this, or they're blowing up these things that are completely normal place, and they're making them sound like they're doing something special for you, again, is that the sort of relationship you want to have? Is that the sort of representation you deserve as a buyer? Is that meeting their fiduciary responsibility? I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying this is a possibility that these situations will come up, and you can decide for yourself whether or not it's something you want to work with. Oftentimes, too, we hear of buyers that really want to work directly with the listing agent. And I think the reason for that is they have a perception that if they work directly with the agent representing the seller, they're somehow going to be able to get a better deal. Now, in another lecture, we talked about fiduciary responsibility. And I want to make that clear here and reiterate that again. A seller's agent has a strong fiduciary responsibility directly to that client. Okay, so if you are a seller and you hire a listing agent to sell your property, that means that you have the fiduciary responsibility from that client to you, that they are going to do everything in their power to represent you to your best interest. That means if you want the highest price, they are going to negotiate and try to get the best price for you. If they are going to screen different offers, they're going to go over these offers with you and decide which one is better for you, not based on how much money they're going to make, but how much you will net and the strength of the offer and the buyer, all things considered. Now, it doesn't mean that there cannot be a win-win and have the listing agent also represent the buyer. That is sometimes the case. Sometimes all the parties are amicable, everybody is reasonable, everybody has everybody's best interests in mind, and it truly is a win-win. I don't want to say that those don't exist, because they do. But more often than not, if you're going in there and expecting that you're going to be able to get a better deal for that, understand that that listing agent has fiduciary responsibility to their seller. So no matter what they're saying to you, understand that their responsibility is to get that seller the best terms, the best price. And more often than not, that's not necessarily going to align with what you are looking for as a buyer. Again, go watch the video about why you should hire a buyer's agent. But these are just some things to keep in mind, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you thought you had somebody negotiating on your behalf, you thought you were getting a good deal, and come to find out they were just completely butchering you and taking advantage of the fact that you did not have your own exclusive, unbiased buyer representation. Another thing we occasionally see as well is that agents are charging buyers and their clients for platform fees. And they might not say specifically platform fee, but it could be under the pretense of a technology fee or something to that extent. And again, like let's just say, for example, if you're an Uber driver and you're driving people from point A to point B, your responsibility is to get them there, and it's not their concern whether or not you just had an oil change yesterday or you're going to have an oil change or tire rotation tomorrow. That is part of your business model. You have to plan for that. You have to take care of your car. It's not their issue if your car is going to need if your transmission is going to need an overhaul next week. That's not their concern. Their concern is paying you for the job that you're hired to do. So plain and simple, if you are a modern day agent, I would expect that you would have the modern day technology and that all of these costs associated with different platforms and services are already integrated into your business model. If you have to go above and beyond and charge a buyer or client additionally for these things that normally any other agent is not going to need to charge somebody for, I would submit to you that that is probably not in your best interest as a buyer, and I would at least contemplate looking around and shopping around for options where somebody's not going to be charging you for something that in this market is already included. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not beating a dead horse on this video. I just wanted to point out just some of these things as a consumer I think you should be aware of, whether or not agents want me to explain this and share this with you or not. But these are things to be aware of. There's many others too that I didn't even talk about here, but be aware that there's different tactics used to get you into somebody's fold, to get you to use an agent, and not all the time are they going to be in your best interest. So keep an eye out for those things. You can determine on your own whether or not it's something you want to work with or not. I'll see you in the next video.